This Harley Ruby is a 1984 Harley. That means I've had it all that time. I can't add it up. It's 32 years. It's disgusting to even say that. And she's got nearly 800,000 Ks on. In that time, still running the original barrels, 40 thou over, 4 crank pins, and one wasn't hard faced properly when it went in. And still, basically, you know, same crankcases, same engine. Now, I put it down to a whole lot of things, not the least being that it's a kickstart model ever since 1986 when the electric starter fell off, which means it sort of winds itself up slowly. It gets a bit of oil pressure before it starts, like an old aeroplane. But I've drained the oil out of it. I took it out for a ride. That was the hard part. Oh, gee, it's fun. I'll tell you, even now, all these years later, it's fun. So we've reached the stage where the oil's out, the filter's off on the other side, and there you have it. There's the little oil plug. And what I'm going to do, you can see it's got a copper washer on it, right? So this is something I've been doing forever. Every now and then I do replace the copper washer when I've got one. When I haven't, I just use a little bit of, tiny little bit of silicone, okay? And put it around the bottom there, the bottom of the bolt. Don't put it anywhere near the top. The last thing you want is a lump of solid silicone floating around your motor. It'll just block up oilways and do all sorts of stuff. Now you only need a tiny little smear, and that's essentially just to lock the bolt. And then I use a fibre washer on top of the brass one, like that, okay? Now what that means is that you don't have to do the bolt up very tight to ensure that you get a really good seal and that it stays in there. You know, I don't know how many times, I could probably work it out very, very roughly, how many times this has been in and out. I was just about to say, and the thread is great. I couldn't get it, but it is great. It's still great. And that's because I don't do it up very hard. Now, you've got to be fairly sure of yourself on a motorcycle to not do that. See that? I'm just holding the spanner. There we go. That's all it takes. And what that means is, you know, I'm holding the spanner like that. What that means is that the silicone and the fibre wash is going to hold it, okay? It'll stay in there until next time. And next time, just as a matter of interest, is usually between about 2 to 4,000 Ks, 4,000 Ks tops. And it's only 4,000 Ks if I've been touring on the old girl. There's some plug in mine, and the diff plugs and everything else, they're in the same way. Fibre washer, tiny little bit of silicone. Nowhere near enough to ball up and cause any problems. Now, I like Penrite. This is a diesel oil, and it's a 2060 because it's summer. I'd probably use a 1550 or something, maybe even a 1050 in winter. This is an old style of engine, and it's an old engine too. And diesel oil, it's a turbo diesel oil. That's the important bit, right? Turbo diesel oil. Why? For 2 reasons. First of all, shut up, dog. First of all, every diesel has got really high compression, okay? And they have flat bearings, which means an oil has got to be able to cope with low revs and fat squish on fat bearings. But a turbo diesel also has super high temperatures and super high revs, and it has to lubricate the turbo. So the oil, if it's a good oil, is going to have to be really, really good. It's going to have to work under temperature and under slap, you know, under a whole lot of pressure on a flat bearing. Well, that suits this old motor perfectly. So I'm using the same oil that I use in Milo, that I use in everything except the high-tech weapons that rev really fast, of which I've only got one, and it's old anyway. All right, it'll hold nearly 4.5 litres without the filter on. And now I'm going to take you around the other side and show you something really interesting. Stay there! This is the other side of the bike, and this is where the oil filter goes. See, it's a screw-on oil filter. And right here is where the oil comes out. Now, what I'm going to do is go around the other side, kickstart the bike, and push some oil through the motor. This is why a motor like this can last so long, because every time you change the oil, you really do get all the dirty oil out. And I guess that's the importance of this lesson. Even when you've got a wet sump motor like your truck, you know, it really pays to get it really hot before you drain the oil. Make sure the sump plug's at the lowest point and then let it all drain out. Not a big fan of flushes, not that often anyway. But just watch this and you'll see what I mean. That's if I can get it to start with my thongs on. There you have it. New oil filter. Now, crucial point, whenever you change your oil, you should change your oil filter. I know what it says in the manual, but fair dinkum, you know, you'd have to be an idiot or someone who made a lot of money selling new cars every couple of years to honestly believe there was anything good about running new oil through a dirty old oil filter. Give it the best clean you can. And never ever forget the crucial point, which is just a tiny little bit of oil on the rubber seal so that it seals up really nicely, and a little bit on the thread too. See that? So lubricate the rubber and lubricate the thread, and on she goes. Now I'm just going to crank that by hand, then I'm going to go and get the belt wrench and just give it another quarter of a turn. You don't need a lot. It's like the sump plug. Look, this is the way I change oil on this bike. It's worked for me. It's lasted forever. When I'm doing it to my trucks, I do much the same thing. Fresh oil, fresh filter. I don't over tighten plugs ever. I just give them a little smear of silastic or something like that and use a fibre washer in there as well as the brass one and just tighten it down so that it'll stay tight and not say you wreck the thread. Look, oil and filters, it's the key to a long life. It's really cheap insurance. Now I might just go over to the fridge and chuck a couple of fresh thread oils through my filter. See you later, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't always show you what I'm doing with my bikes, but fair dinkum bikes, because you know the engine's right here between your legs. This is 1340 cc's, right between your legs. You get it wrong, you can feel it straight away. If it's out of tune, it won't start. It'll put your ankle straight back over the front wheel where it deserves to be, slightly not near your bottom. And when you change the oil on a motor like this, you can feel it. It smooths right up. The first few hundred Ks, it's absolutely beautiful. And then slowly as it gets dirtier and dirtier, you can feel it, it gets sludgier. So there's an awful lot to be learnt from playing with little motors that's applicable to big motors. Righto. Oh, gee, that fridge is calling me. See ya.